What's up, party people? Welcome back to my channel. If this is the first time you're clicking on my video, thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Audrey and I am a bodybuilder slash special needs mom slash creative stay-at-home mom. So I have kind of gone away from doing fitness stuff, but I kind of want to get back into it and start a series all about fitness because that's also a huge passion of mine. So yeah, stay tuned. I'm gonna go over after competing, like how you feel emotionally and just overall experience. And I'm not here to bash the bodybuilding industry because every industry has its struggles and every industry has its dark side, if you want to call it that. But I'm not here to do that today. I'm just here to tell you my experience and the pros, the cons, and how I feel now that it's been, let's see, 3 years since I competed. Okay, so I thought I'd start with the positive because there is always positive to everything. The positive about bodybuilding is it is an awesome challenge. It is an awesome challenge to push yourself to limits you didn't ever think you could get your body to and your mind to, because more than anything, competing in bodybuilding is a mind thing. More than anything. And if you know bodybuilders, you know it's more your mind than your body that struggles through, like, for example, when you're cutting, dieting, it's all in the mind. So yeah, it's a huge mind thing. So yeah, I'm the kind of person that if I set a goal, I'm going to achieve that goal. And I'm not gonna give up until I achieve that goal. So that is something that I think is so awesome about bodybuilding. You set a goal about doing a competition and you reach that goal by finishing it. And it's such a good feeling. I love, for example, another one thing I love about bodybuilding is I love to be on stage. I love to perform. I love to be the center of attention. I know, big surprise, but I do. And getting up on stage and putting myself through all that I went through was worth it once you get on stage and you perform. You know, you show your body off and all the hard work that you put into it, training in the gym and cutting and all the stuff that you worked so incredibly hard for, you can, you know, show it on stage. So I love that aspect too. I love performing. So that was an awesome experience for me. I love it. I think another aspect of bodybuilding is nobody can take it away from you. Nobody can take away the hard work you put into your body. You achieved that by working hard in the gym and by training, and nobody can take that away from you, ever. And being able to say, I competed in a bodybuilding competition, it's a good feeling. It's like, it's a real challenge. Not a lot of people can do it. You know, it's an awesome feeling to say that I did it and I accomplished that. It's something I wanted to do on my bucket list. And, you know, and I'm a mom of 3 and it feels good. It feels good to feel good about yourself. So I would say that's another great thing about bodybuilding and competing. Of course, there are bad things to everything. So I'd say the biggest thing that I struggled with after competing is obviously weight gain. Obviously having a hard time looking in the mirror and seeing myself not as lean. I did actually have depression afterwards, pretty bad actually, maybe for 3 or 4 months, where I didn't even want to get out of bed. And that was the very first time I competed, by the way. What I will say going into this is the very first competition afterwards was the hardest. When I did the second and third one, it wasn't as hard because I knew what to expect going into it and coming out of it, if that makes sense. If I could give advice to a bodybuilding competitor, especially in like bikini or figure, I would say go into it knowing you're not gonna be able to maintain your body ever to that leanness, ever. And if you go into it knowing that, it will really help you coming out of the show, because if you go into the show thinking, oh, I'm gonna get this amazing shape and I'm gonna be able to maintain it and I'm gonna look fantastic and da-da-da-da. If you have that mentality going into the show, coming out of the show is going to be a freaking nightmare. And I'm gonna be honest with you, that's how it was for me for my first show and my first experience. Like I said, I had depression, I had body dysmorphia. I still have a little bit of body dysmorphia. I think most bodybuilders do, but I think that's really the only struggles I deal with now, looking at my body and being happy with myself at a healthy weight, because I'm at a healthy weight. The second thing I would say, if I could give advice to a future bodybuilder or competitor, somebody that wants to compete, is make sure going into a show, you're in a really good mental state, because it is going to literally shake you to your core mentally. And if you are not in a good mental space, you are going to struggle. And I'm just gonna be honest with you. It is the hardest thing mentally you will ever put yourself through. I'm not even joking. So if you go into it with depression, or you go into it with addiction, or if you go into it with some kind of other problem you're struggling with, overeating, if you go into it with any kind of mental disorder, you're gonna come out of it 10 times worse. And I'm not even exaggerating. So make sure you're going into it with a clear mind and you don't have a lot of distractions in your life. And if you do have children, you can do it. I'm not saying you can't do it, but you just have to prioritize, and you have to be organized, and you have to have a clear head and be able to do all the duties you have on top of meal prep, on top of training at the gym, on top of all of your commitments. Just make sure you have all your ducks in a row or you're gonna really struggle. Okay, so the reason I'm telling you this is because when I went into my first show, I was an alcoholic, and I was in denial that I was an alcoholic and I had a drinking problem. And I didn't realize it until after the show, because during the time I prepped, I was completely sober. I didn't drink at all because I was dieting. There was no way I could drink on top of that. You can't really drink when you're competing. It just doesn't work out for you. Let me just tell you that right freaking now. It's not gonna work. So going into the show, I was struggling with my addiction. I was struggling with not being able to drink. I was struggling with, other problems emotionally. And so when I was doing my prep, I was staying focused. I was staying really good with my eating and with my training. And I was so on top of it and so good. But then when I came out of the show, I was having such bad depression, because what did I do right when I ended my show? I started drinking again. And I started having body dysmorphia really bad. And I started having severe depression. And all these things together made me struggle even worse. And I think a lot of people don't talk about the struggles of after competing, because they're not even in tune with why they feel the way they feel, because mentally they were already in a bad mental space. And so it's just a hot ass mess, let's just be honest. I started to kind of understand I had a drinking problem when I kept trying to do more preps for shows, and I kept backing out of them at the last minute. I think I prepped for 3 different shows and I dropped out of all of them because I was struggling with my drinking, and I wasn't really getting to the root of what the problem was, and that was my drinking. I finally got sober in 2015, September 1st, 2015, and I did my second show in 2016, and I'm so proud that I finally got to that space, and I was in a good place because I had been sober, and I was just mentally in a good place, and I was getting therapy, and I was going to therapy once a week. So I was in such a good mental space for this next show that coming out of the show wasn't as hard. And I did do 2 shows that year. I went into the show knowing I couldn't maintain it. I went into the show knowing I wasn't gonna have problems with my drinking again because I had already quit drinking. I went into the show knowing that if I did have depression, it was okay and I would get through it. And I think that is how the second and third show was so much easier for me. And I don't know if I will do it again. I think that's a question I get asked a lot. I still train 5 to 6 days a week, and I am still so dedicated to my fitness. I don't know if I can do it again. We will see. I say I do want to do one more and maybe do figure because I've only done bikini, but we'll see. I don't know what the future holds with my bodybuilding career because it's so hard, but I do miss it and I love it, and I love the challenge, and I love to be on stage, like I said, but we will see what the future holds. Never say never. I'm a crazy person and I love to challenge myself, and I love to set goals that are like way up here because that's just how I am. I don't know. I'm not afraid to like take a chance and to do something and to just jump in with both feet and just be vulnerable, and that's just who I am. So we'll see what the future holds with bodybuilding. Overall, I've had a positive experience, especially the second and third show. I don't know if I would recommend it to people because I think a lot of people are in a really bad mental state sometimes going into shows because they want to prove something to someone. Because if you go into with that kind of mental idea, it's just not a good good way to go into a show, I think. You should want to do it for yourself. You should want to do it to prove you can do it, and maybe to mark it off your bucket list or maybe something like that. But don't go into it trying to prove someone wrong. Don't go into it trying to cope with your depression or deal with your anxiety or deal with anorexia or dealing with overeating. You can't go into it with those problems. You have to deal with those problems first and then go into the show. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I am going to continue to do fitness series stuff in the future, so stay tuned. I'm still going to do stuff about Autumn. I'm still gonna do stuff about my creative side and even stuff about my kids. I know I'm gonna do a video with Andy because he is really excited in doing coding at school, and he's gonna do a presentation and he wants to share it with you guys. So stay tuned, and thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you hit the like button, also subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. If you guys have any questions about bodybuilding or my experience or anything like that, make sure you leave it in the comments below. I will answer all questions. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Okay, so I wanted to share with you guys one more thing really quick, and that was a couple clips and pictures from my shows. So my very first show was an amateur show and I got second place. My second show was a super competitive NPC show. I got like 17th place. I was 34 and I was against like 20-year-olds. So yeah, I did not do good. And then my third show was more of an amateur show and I got first place. And so enjoy the next clips.